Today we're going to talk about why I stopped training. I started training about 21 years ago. I was young for the job, but I was really good at what I did. I had really good students and I had really bad ones. Back in the day, students used to kill trainers because they'll fall asleep or they didn't wake them up or they weren't paying attention. They'll go downhill, they'll burn the brakes. Back in the day, it was rough training people. I don't know how it is now because I haven't trained anybody in a long time. I had really good students. I had a guy that I taught how to blindside back, and the day he learned how to blindside back without my help is when he graduated. I had a student I took with me to New York City. I showed him all the ropes, where to park, how to navigate through the city. He had a PR interview for the US. I don't know where he was from. I don't know if he was from Dominican Republic or Caribbean islands. And I always told him, make sure you tell your recruiter or your driver manager to make sure that you get home. And he missed his PR interview. And then I get a phone call 2 weeks from safety that for some reason I called him the N-word. And after they did the little investigation, it turned out that he threw me under the bus because he blamed me that he missed the interview. And he didn't become a permanent resident for the United States. And you get people like that, and eventually I got burned out and I stopped training. I stopped training, I believe, in 2007, I think, or 8. I trained for Swift and Warner, and I never looked back. Actually, I was happy because there's no stress. I had a guy one time when I bought my first truck, when I was on operator. He got lost. He didn't wake me up, so he turned around in a gas station and he wasn't watching his trailer. He clipped a gas pump. Nothing happened. The gas pump got damaged, and he threw me off the bed. The next day, cops show up, to do the police report. He started to flirt with the police officer, with the woman. But the point is that you get that type of new generation truck drivers. I quit. I got out of it because companies don't want quality drivers. They want someone to fulfill the empty seat.
Hey guys, Ronan here. I wanted to personally thank you for watching this video. ET Transport is currently in need to fill 3 positions: a driver manager position, an equipment manager position, and a daytime dispatcher. If you think you have what it takes to work here at ET Transport, please feel free to submit your resume. If you know somebody that would be a good fit for any one of these roles, please have them submit the resume to recruiting@ettransport.ca. Again, all 3 positions are for our Concord, Ontario terminal.
I became a trainer in the first place because I really enjoy working with people. I was good at what I did. I might have been young, but I enjoy driving. I'm a people person. I like to talk to people, and I thought that I can use my knowledge, whatever knowledge I had, that I can pass it on. Most of the time, there are people that are willing to take that knowledge and whatever skill I had to offer them for them to learn it. On the flip side, there were some people that they thought that they knew more than me. Those are the ones that got fired. They had a couple accidents in a week and they got fired, or I usually kick them out because, they looked at my age. They didn't look at my skills. They saw me being a young guy, but they didn't see that I could offer them something and train them. And there was a guy that we were backing, and he wanted to back. And back then, I drove a Classic XL. They don't make them anymore. A few drivers have them, but they were long nose, 265 wheelbase truck. And trucks like that, you gotta drive them in a certain way. And we were at the dock, and I was trying to teach the guy how to back, and he didn't want to listen. So I got out of the truck and I said, the ship is all yours. Back it into the dock. After 45 minutes later, he couldn't do it. The customer came out and he was pissed off, and he said, I need you to back the truck so that way I can unload the freight. I don't have time for all this. But that's the kind of people you get. The new guys, they don't want to learn. They think that driving a truck in a straight lane on a highway, that's all it takes. And that's why I stopped. But I started because I believed in doing something right, believed in training people because I was passionate about my job. I'll never go back to that. If I do become a driver trainer, it won't be over the road. It will be at a school. If ET opens a school, I'll train them, but I'm going home at the end of the day. I'm not going to be with somebody for 2 weeks because you may get 1 or 2 that are good, and then you get 5 that are the worst. I don't have the patience to explain people why they should listen, and most of the people, they don't listen. They just basically, they want to do their thing. So here's some tips if you want to be a driver trainer. One is patience. You have to be a people person. You have to understand that if you're going to be an over-the-road trainer, you're going to be stuck with somebody for 2 weeks, maybe more, depending how well they do. or how worse they'll do. If you don't have the patience, if you're not a people person, you're not gonna get along. And it's not the person, it's you have to know who you are. So number one is, patience and having the personality that you wanna deal with people. Second tip is don't trust your trainee. Some of them may do really well in some areas, in other areas they will fail dramatically. Backing, if you're gonna train somebody, train them at the yard. Don't train them at 4 o'clock in the afternoon at a truck stop when people are trying to back in and, so they can take their showers and have their dinner and your student is taking 40 minutes to back. Train them on the weekends, in the daytime, in the morning, like Saturday morning, at a big parking lot, away from everybody, or at the yard. You see a lot of guys, they want to train them during rush hour parking when people are trying to back in. Don't do that. He's gonna make a mistake or something will happen. Third tip is downhills, mountains. Don't do that. How is he gonna learn? Well, here's the thing. You're putting your life at risk, If you're gonna train somebody driving to the mountain range, train them how to drive uphill, don't train them how to drive downhill, If it's an automatic, I would say go right ahead on that, because automatics, even if you put it in neutral, if the truck goes into neutral and he picks up speed, you can always put it in drive and you'll go back to gear. In a manual transmission, don't train people going downhill. Especially Donald's Pass in California, I would never do it. If it's automatic, maybe. But I gotta think about it really good, and you have to know the person. This is where the trainer decides what to do, so they don't learn everything 100% in training. They have to experience it themselves. My trainer was the same way. When I went to Donald's Pass, he never let me drive. The way I personally learned how to drive downhill is on my own. When I had a trainer, when we went to California, he drove to Donald's Pass. He never let me drive it. At the end of the day, the choice goes to the trainer, not to the trainee. That's why there's a trainer and trainee. When I learned it the hard way. Going downhill with a manual transmission, watch your mirrors so that way the trailer brakes don't burn. And if they do, try to pull over. I learned it the hard way, but it's hard to train somebody if you don't trust them, and that's the thing. In some areas, some guy will be good at this. In some areas, another guy will be good at this. But at the end of the day, you have to learn on your own. That's what I'm trying to say. You can only teach a baby how to walk, but the trainee eventually has to stop being a trainee, and you're gonna have to learn how to walk on your own. You're gonna stumble along the way, but you're gonna have to learn how to drive and control that truck. And because you're not gonna learn everything in school, you're not gonna learn everything in 2 or 3 weeks on the road. You're only gonna learn what you see and what you experience. And some things cannot be taught. You're gonna have to do it on your own. Tips for trainees, there's a lot. Number one is listen to your trainer. Now, there are some trainers that shouldn't be training. I totally agree on that part. In fact, companies hiring trainers because they need to train people. So it's kind of like blind leads the blind. Make sure you're with a good trainer. If you're not with a good trainer, leave. Find someone else that can train you, because what you're gonna learn with him or her is, those things will save your life. And if that person is not teaching you all these things within 2 to 3 weeks, then you need to find someone else. Another tip for students, trainees, don't be in a rush. Take your time, because when you're in a rush, you will make mistakes. When you go to a dock and you want to back in, try to pick the easiest dock if possible. Most of the time, they're not going to give it to you. And if you don't feel comfortable, let the trainer do it. That's why you get the trainer. Don't get into an accident. Don't try to get into any fender benders in the beginning. Companies know that you will, especially during training. Keep your license clean, keep your record clean, because if you start getting into fender bender in the beginning, getting a speeding ticket, it's a bad sign. There are some students that do get fired. I had a trainee that got fired, had 2 accidents because he failed to listen, and he got fired. And that's what it is. As a trainer, you can only do so much. If they're not willing to listen to you, you can't protect them. Learn as much as you can. Ask for backing. If you have a weakness in backing, learn how to back as much as you can. So here's another tip. If your truck goes 65 and you're trying to pass another truck that is going 65, don't pass them, just get behind. Nowadays there's so much elephant races, as I call them, 2 big trucks going the same speed. Just stay behind, there's no rush. Your truck can only go 65 anyway. So if your truck goes that slow, get behind like everybody else, and don't try to pass 2 or 3 trucks when there's a lineup behind you. Here's the last step when it comes to coexisting in a small space with 2 adults. Companies know that personality issue will be a problem, but if you do have personality issue and you cannot leave right away, try to work it out. At the end of the day, you guys are living together, so try to work it out and try to be peaceful, because the next morning you guys are gonna be together again. Just because you go to sleep doesn't mean you're gonna wake up in 2 different trucks. You're still gonna wake up in the same truck, so try to get along, try to work it out, your problems. If there's personal issues involved, If the trainer is good, he will try to help you out. Other than that, try to have peace in the truck. After you leave that truck, after you graduate, whatever knowledge you have learned, that's what you're going to be using until you develop your own practice and your own skills. After you leave, if the guy is good and you guys get along, then text him or call him and say, hey, I'm in a situation, what do I do? So you can ask more questions afterwards. Sometimes trainers and trainees, they become friends. I had a couple of people like that, they became friends and they would ask me, what do I do or how do I get to the customer and stuff like that. Are those hot dogs? Oh, okay.
My buddy from there brought them.
If you're thinking about being a driver trainer or if you're currently a trainee, hopefully this video will help you out. If you have any comments, hit me down below. If not, I don't give a Peace out, guys. See you next time.